the recessive link, X link. Can you please
Okay.
explain? Because someone told me that, like, when you see recessive, it's about your grandfather. So I didn't see.
Hey.
I didn't see your grandfather in the question, so I don't know
Please,
why.
please. That's why I'm
Uh-huh.
explaining that. Try and understand. All the time people are saying, people are saying it. Please understand the condition. When we talk about a grandfather own, that means they're actually referring to what autosomal recessive. That means it involves in every generation. And if you look at the question, they're not like generations or generations. When we say generation, that means your great great grandfather, father, they are having it. That means what? It's autosomal, 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 autosomal recessive. Yeah. This one, right?
Okay. Yeah, this one.
Good, good. That's why I took my time to explain it, to draw the diagram for you. Though it's not nice of the diagram. There's like a Yara trying to draw something for her parents to see, to show that she has gone to a medical school. You see, that's what's happening here. So now look at it. This, they say that a couple went for counseling, which as a couple, you must go for counseling. The father has hemophilia. Father is having what? Hemophilia. Now the woman is healthy, and there were no cases of hemophilia in her family.
No, sorry, not this question. The one that the options are X-linked, Y, or
This one.
dominant. This one.
Okay. We are saying that a healthy woman, healthy, that means she has no what? Physical presentation of any problem. Has 3 sons. The woman is healthy, but is having 3 sons who are affected by color blindness. But she's normal. But she has what? 3 sons affected by color blindness. Again, let's draw. Oh, let me see. Okay, I have to enlarge this thing. Let me explain this thing for you guys. Okay, guys. Good. So again, let me take my pen. So we have X for the mother, right? Mother is healthy, according to the question. Now, children, who were born after her 2 marriages, after her 2 what? Hey, that means she has divorced like twice. After her 2 what? Marriages. So that means the 3rd marriage is inside. Now, children both of her father, of her husband, are healthy. That means the husband too, that is married to, are also what? Healthy. They are healthy. So what is the possible pattern of inheritance of this disease? Now, if they say that the children of her husband are healthy, it means that this man has what? No problem. But the woman could be having a recessive gene. That is why how do you call it? How do I put this? Yes. That is why the father has nothing in the gene, but the mother will have something, or she will be a carrier. She will be a carrier. That is why all her sons are having it, but she is what? Healthy. She is healthy, but her sons are having it. That means she's a carrier. So again, let's say color blindness is what? It's a hyphen, or a prime. So she's what? She's healthy. And let's say that, basically she's healthy. That's it. So now let's see what we're going to get, okay? Just like we did in the other one. Let's see what we're going to get if indeed all the sons will be having the disease or not. Let's check it out. To show that it's recessive, So again, X will match to X. Another X prime will match to what? To the Y. So this one is done. Then I move to what? The first X, and then X, and then X, and then what? Y. So again, let's write the genotype. You see now I'm using genotype, right? I'm using the word genotype, not phenotype. Genotype. So the woman genotype, she has hemophilia. But in phenotype, she has no hemophilia. Sorry, she has no color blindness. Charlie, physiology is good, oh. The B. So X and X. But this X is prime. Don't forget that. There's prime here. And we say prime is what recessive. That means the disease is there. Good. And again, this will be what? X prime and then Y. Great. Then this one here, we have what? XX. X. X. Then again, we have what? X. Y. Good. Now, let's look at the question. So now look at it. Now, this is a boy, sorry, a girl, boy, girl, boy. The girls, this is a career. This is not a career. But phenotypically, they are all healthy. So again, it means it is what? Recessive. Phenotypically, they are all healthy, but genotypically, one is having a career. But look at the males. One has the problem. The other is not having what? The problem. One has the problem. The other one is not having the problem. So what it means is that the son, why the son is having the diseases is because the mother is positive. I mean, the mother is a carrier. So it could be that the mother is giving birth to this kind of children, XY kind of children, not the XY without hypertrophy. I mean, without a hyphen. Okay. Given that the mother is giving this kind of children, this kind of children, all of them are having a disease. This kind of children. Great. So please take note of all of these things. Have I answered your question, Dr. AJ?
Yes, please.
Great. All right. Who am I talking to now? Dr. Lucy. Lucy. Oh, okay. Dr. Paul. Hello.
Yes, teacher.
How far?
I thought I screenshotted my question, so I wanted to make sure I found it. 1 second, please.
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this question that talked about transmural myocardial infarction?
Yeah.
So yes, please, can you shed more light on why not edema of the extremities and why it was the lung?
Sure. I got you, man. This is the question, right?
Yes.
Good. Yes. We are seeing that a patient is having what? A transmural myocardial infarction. Transmural means insufficient amount of what? Blood going into the what? Into the cardiomyocyte or the myocardial cells. But this infection is so severe that it's affecting the whole membrane. The whole membrane. You know, the heart has layers or walls. So it's affecting the whole wall. It's affecting the whole wall. From the pericardium to the myocardium to the endocardium. All of them have been affected. That is myocardial infarction. Now, they said this has led to a complication called progressive acute left ventricular insufficiency. Left ventricular insufficiency. Now, another name for left ventricular insufficiency means left heart failure. So this person is having what? A left heart failure. Left heart failure. And actually, we can have also right heart failure, or we can have both right and left heart failures. Both right and left. Or you have right failure, or you have left heart failure. If that has been established, now look at this. If we say the heart is failing, what it means is that it can't perform its function. True or false? I want to communicate with you, Paul. True or false? So you can unmute. Let's talk. Yes.
You're right.
Good. So if it cannot function, what it means is that what is the primary function of the left ventricle? It is to pump, to send blood to the what? To systemic circulation. But here's the case, it's not able to send blood to the systemic circulation. So the blood that is coming from the right atrium into the right ventricle, into the pulmonary trunk, to the lungs, to the left atrium, into the left ventricle are not moving. Because they are not going. Because the heart is failing, so it's not moving. It's not moving. So immediately, let's forget about the right heart for now. And let's concentrate on the left side, because the problem will be on the left side. So now, the blood is not moving. So what it means is that the blood that's already in the left ventricle, which are not moving, will now begin to regurgitate backwards or flow backwards. When it flows backwards, where will it go to? It will go into the what? The left atrium. It will go into the left atrium. Let me just draw the heart safe. This is Yara's heart. Yara, this is your heart though. Hey, am I even doing it well?
Sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's okay. So this is your heart. Okay. So actually, let me do another one here. It's actually 4 chambers. So let's assume that this is the heart. Then we have something over here. So this is the valve. This is the valve. Okay. Then let's go over here is the aortic. Over here is the aortic aortic valve or aortic. Yeah. The pulmonary trunk. Sorry, the aortic trunk. Let's over here is the how do you call it? The pulmonary. So now this is the right heart. This whole here is right heart. This is the left heart. Good. So now, right heart. So right atrium. Over here, right ventricle. Over here, left atrium. Left atrium. My A is bad here. And over here, we have left what? Ventricle. Great. And over here, we have the lungs. Great. Hey, your heart is beautiful. So over here, we have the right heart, the right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. So now the problem is here. This whole right side is having a problem. That's what we call what? This problem here, the left ventricle is having what? A problem. And of course, if the left ventricle have a problem, it will affect the right. Because now the volume here or the blood inside the left ventricle here are not flowing through this aorta. So they are accumulated. So when they are accumulated, first of all, it will go through a compensatory mechanism by enlarging, okay, to compensate for the increased volume of blood. So to enlarge when it's tired, this valve here, which is the mitral stenosis, the mitral valve will begin to open because there's too much pressure here more than here. So the pressure here will pull the mitral valve open or make the mitral valve to be open. Then the volume here will now be shifting into what? into the left the left atrium. And again, the left atrium also become full. Okay, when it becomes full of blood, again, don't forget we have the what? The pulmonary vein entering into the right atrium. So that one too, it will be blocked because it can't go. So the fluid will also begin to go back. When you go back, come to the heart, so into the lungs. So at the end of the day, the lungs is having a lot of what? Pressure. The lungs will have a lot of pressure inside, and that is called pulmonary edema. That means edema in the lungs. Edema in the lungs. Please, are you getting this part, Dr. Paul?
Yes, I'm getting.
Good. Now, on the right, let's say you're having a problem on the right. So now I've explained why we're having what? Edema of the lungs over here. Now let's come to a problem on the right, or right heart failure. With right heart failure, what it means is that blood that is coming into the atrium or the ventricle are not able to enter into the what? Are not able to enter into the pulmonary circulation. So the pulmonary trunk is also having a problem. So this heart is not able to what? To pump blood from the pulmonary trunk into the what? Into the lungs. It's not able to pump into the lungs. So as a result, pressure will begin to mount in the right what? Ventricle. When pressure begins to mount in the right ventricle, what happens? It also will push the tricuspid valve over here. To push the tricuspid valve over here to open, because pressure here is high, and the pressure will now pull the fluid into the right atrium. But you know that the right atrium is what also receives the inferior vena cava and then the inferior vena cava. Okay, so again, that will also be open. So that means the blood here is not coming in, but the blood here can also be coming outside. So again, don't forget that there's also normally it's supposed to be a systemic circulation, and venous blood is supposed to return. So the venous blood is not returning, and again, the blood in the right atrium is also giving pressure. So there's resistance. So at the end of the day, the fluid here will be coming downwards, and when it comes downwards here, you will find your liver there. When you go down, you will find your lower extremities there. That's what we said. Right heart failure will lead to what? Edema formation in the liver and in the what? Lower extremities, and even ascites. Whilst the left heart failure will lead to what? Pulmonary edema. Pulmonary edema. But if there's a complete heart failure, both right and left, it means that both will happen, or both things will be happening. As simple as that. Dr. Paul, are we good now?
Very good, sir. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. You are welcome.
Thank
You are
you.
welcome. Great. Dr. Sarah.
Yo.
Yeah. How body?
Body they fine now.
Body they fine.
Yeah.
It is so now. So
Body they fine.
good. Now, is there a question for us tonight?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Yes.
Okay. Great. Dr. Yara, they have today there. I've worried you. I told I'll mafia you. Dr. Yara?
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, please, today no question.
Okay. Then let me ask you a question. How are you? How are you?
Okay,
So I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I should shoot. I love that. I love that. What is the difference between neurotonic hyperemia and neuroparalytic hyperemia?
So that's what I wanted to ask you.
Hey, I've got you. Sarah, you said you understood everything. Sarah, explain for us.
Oh.
Good.
Okay. For the paralytic,
Good. Mm-hmm.
you said it occurs when the tone of the vasomotor
constrictor centers and the nerves are like decreased.
Awesome.
That's like the sympathetic nervous system.
Awesome.
While for neurotonic is like based on the predominant of the effects. That's like it deals with the parasympathetic nervous impulses.
Awesome. 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 Can I give you a hug?
Yeah.
Virtual hug. I'm giving you virtual hug. So I've given you virtual hug.
All right.
Dada Yaya, did you get it now?
Yes.
Good.
But
And
say please.
I
say please repeat it for me.
I should repeat it again. Yeah, just said everything. So in paralytic, let me just look for the question for you guys. That will make much sense. Paralytic. You told me there's no question, but you see, say repeat again. You see why I said I worry you now? Good. Good. So just like Sarah just rightly said, in neuroparalytic, we are having a problem with the sympathetic nervous system. So there's decrease in tone of the vasoconstrictors. Decrease in tone of the vasoconstrictors. So you look at what paralytic. And that one, since I said it's what sympathetic, look at the question. They said the upper neck node of a sympathetic trunk was removed. So it's like you are practically causing what? Paralysis to occur. So you are decreasing the nerve fibers from running. So this was sympathetic nervous system being cut short because of an experiment. Are you getting me? In neurotonic.
So you said it is when something has happened to the sympathetic nervous system.
Yes.
Due to?
It could be anything, just like a cat over here. There's a cat. Don't worry, you see some questions, similar questions, but formulated in a different way. Either there's a cat, or something has been removed, or there's a surgery, or there's something like that. Always, there is a manual alteration in the way the sympathetic nervous system should move. Manually, we change it or we alter it manually. But in neurotonic, it is parasympathetic. On itself, it begins to close down. You know, sympathetic means hyper. Parasympathetic means lower. So when that happens, it now leads to what? The arterial hyperemia. Do you get it now?
Yeah, please, the neurotonic again.
Neurotonic deals with parasympathetic nervous system innervation. Parasympathetic. Whilst paralytic deals with sympathetic. And always you see in the question, they will tell you what it is. And by tomorrow, God willing, and by maybe Tuesday, we'll be done with, how do you call it? Pathophysiology. And you guys will be happy.
So please, the extrinsic pathway.
Factor 3, factor 7, and 10.
Not 10A, just 10.
10A, of course, all the factors need to be activated. So even 7, it is 7A. Because if it's not activated, how can it function? It can't function. Do you understand?
Okay.
They all need to be what? Activated. This is a question. So you see, factor 3 will come and then activate factor what? Factor 7. So when factor 7 is activated, it's called factor 7A. The A means activated.
Okay.
A means activated. But please try and if you get time, try and go to the coagulation cascade, where we have the intrinsic pathway and then we have the intrinsic pathway. There's another type of pathway. There's 3. I've forgotten. Okay.
Yeah, please, to our very last question.
Sure. You say? Oh, the question is our very last question. Okay. What was it? Keep it. This one. Hey. Our very last question. This question. This? Hey.
Sorry, yes, sir.
This question. Okay. We are saying that this patient is having what? Suffering from viruses, bacteria, from bacteria to skin lesions. And when they check his blood, they are having enlargement of T lymphocyte. But lymphocytes are not supposed to be enlarged. Okay, they're supposed to be normal. They also have an enlargement of the what? IgMs, which is what? Immunoglobulins. But there's normal what? IgA and then IgG. These are normal. But what immune pathology is happening here? And we are saying that the person is definitely having immunodeficiency because the person is virus he's getting, bacteria he's getting, skin lesion he's getting. So that means his immune system is not able to fight anything. Apparently, his immune system is not able to fight anything. Do you get me? And this because she's having problem not only with T lymphocyte but also with B lymphocyte. When I say B lymphocyte, I'm referring to the plasma cells. The plasma cells, which produces what? Immunoglobulins. Those are plasma cells. Since the problem with both of them, we call it a severe combined immunodeficiency. Severe combined immunodeficiency. And you know, with HIV, which popularly we know that as immunodeficiency, it deals with the T lymphocyte. It deals with the T lymphocyte. To be specific, the T helper cells. T helper cells. Or CD4 count. Or the CD4s. But this one is not only with the T cells, but also what? With the B cells. Does it make sense to you now?
Yes, sir, please. Yes, it does.
Awesome.
So, sir, with that hemophilia, you said hemophilia is not only
hemophilia X recessive. Hemophilia is X recessive.
So, meaning that females too can get hemophilia.
Females can only get it when it is double.
So, sir, this hemophilia is not only men that have it.
No. Now, it is common in men because even one X chromosome can give the man the disease. Do you get me? Even one. See, you have XY. So assuming the X is having the hemophilia, definitely you don't need two X in man before you get it. That one alone can express itself because it has nothing to counteract it. Okay. But in a female, like in this case, particular case, look at it. It needs two before it can become diseased. So this one is just a carrier. This is a carrier. So actually, none of the children is having the disease. They are all having carriers. But assuming this is also X, and this is also prime. This is also prime. That means both of them are having. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Great.
So all along, I thought it was for only boys. So.
No. It is common in boys because it's X-linked. Okay, and the presence of even X in a boy gene, or is person having a disease? Person having the disease. So please take note of that. Don't confuse yourself. Okay, who hasn't spoken? I think Yima.
I have a question. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I have question about this atrioventricular blockage.
Speak louder.
Atrioventricular blockage.
Come again?
Yeah. Atrioventricular block.
Atrioventricular block. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand what you meant.
Okay. Let me go over it. Let me go over the blockage. Which side can we find it? Should I go forward or should I go backwards? Yeah, I forgot what it was.
I
should go backwards, eh?
I don't know where it is, but I have the picture as screenshot for you.
I can do this and I'm suffering like that. Or because of Yara. This is a question.
Yes.
Okay. We are saying that the heart is a machine. The heart is a machine. Just like your car engine. Before the engine will respond, you have to spark it. So the sparking of a car engine in the human being, or with respect to the heart, we can say we are having sinoarterial node or SA node. Because the SA node is the power that supplies to all the muscles. So the moment you spark the car, the engine responds, the car can now move. True of us. Great. So that's what happens in the heart. And then we are saying that. And even with a car, sometimes you have friction. Sometimes you are trying to go, bang, 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 then it will be stopping. It will just go to and fro and it will just stop. Like it's not going. That means that there's a problem with the conducting system in the car. So you have to have it checked and fix it. Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Awesome. So let's use that idea of a car to come to medicine or to come to the heart. Of course, you know whose heart it is. Yaira's heart. So now, we need SA node. And the SA node is working. When the SA node pumps or it fires, it leads to contraction of the atrium. That's why the atrium is able to contract and blood will go into the ventricles. It's because the sinoarterial node is working. Also called the pacemaker. The pacemaker. Sometimes I used to call it peacemaker. But it's the pacemaker. So when that one fires, the atrium also contracts. When the atrium contracts, it has to send it into the ventricles. But it doesn't just go directly into the ventricles, or it doesn't transfer that impulse. Now I remember this one again. Let's say Sarah is cooking, okay? Sarah is cooking. She puts the silver pot, whatever it is, on fire. At the beginning, she can hold the two knobs on the silver, okay? Now, as the heat is going on, at a point, she can still hold it. At another point, she can't even try. She has to use a rack. Sarah, true of us?
True, sir.
Thank you. And that is why, if you see silvers, they put an insulator on the knobs so that you can be able to use it even without even without a rack. You can be able to use it to hold it. Okay, the same mechanism. So that insulator there is there for a purpose. The same way applies to the heart. When the heart is heating up in the name of firing, the atrium will contract. It must pass it to the next cells around it and around it. Before you know it, the whole heart is beating normally or nicely. But if there's an obstruction, that means the heat is not able to pass through. Just like I said, on the knob, because of the knob is made up of an insulator or plastic, the heat is not able to conduct through that plastic knob. So Sarah will not feel it in her hands that her hands could burn. But without a plastic knob, she could feel that her hand could burn. So she not even try it. The same way. So with the heart too, we don't want to put any knob there or any plastic knob there. Because if you put that plastic knob there, there'll be a problem. That means the heart cannot continue. So, however, we have a transducer. So instead of the knob being an insulator, now it's a transducer. That means it will further increase contraction. So when it gets into the AV node, which is also another junction to also fire. So the SA will fire for the atrium. Now the atrium will give it to the SA node, the AV node, also known as the atrioventricular node. And the ventricular node also has to fire. That's another level of heat energy. Good. So when the atrioventricular node also gets it, it also fire it into the ventricle. So ventricle need to contract. Ventricle also contract, and send it into the bundle of his. Bundle also will hold it and spread it into the Purkinje fibers. Then everything is contracting. Then it becomes a cycle. It goes and comes, goes and comes, goes and comes. Having established that, now they are saying that in this question, the ECG revealed that there's a sinus rhythm. That means AV node is firing, or that means that you can spark your engine. All right. So there's no problem with sparking the engine. The engine is working perfectly, or the fire is working perfectly. The stove is working perfectly. Now, the number on the auricular complexes auricular complexes exceeds the number of the ventricular complexes. What it means is that when Sarah put on the heat, she's not getting the right proportion of the heat from the bottom to the top. It's like doing, jollof rice. I don't know how Nigerians prepare their jollof rice, but jollof rice is the most annoying food to prepare, but the sweetest, because you have to put it on fire. If the fire is not uniformly spread, some part of the food will be cooked all right, other part will still be hard. If you like, ask AJ. Ask AJ. AJ will tell you. AJ cook your food be like that. It happened like that. Some part of the food was well cooked, other part wasn't well cooked. True or false, AJ? Don't come and beat me. However, so that's what's happening to this patient or this guy. So it's not uniformly spreading. But let's continue. Now, he said that progressive extension of the PQR interval. Now, the PQR interval is the time whereby the P wave sends the contraction or the impulse into the AV node. So that is where the place is. The atrioventricular block, the ventricular node. That's where the PQ interval is. So it is now taking the heat to now spread it again. And they are saying that there could be a problem in that node. And that's why we have AV block 1, AV block 2, AV block 3, or complete blockage. And that's why they're saying that, when you move on, they say that the P wave and the KRS complexes are without changes. That means P wave on its own is functioning. KRS, if it gets the waves or the impulse, it will function normally. Just that it is not getting the wave. It's not getting the wave properly. So that means there's a blockage over there. But at least there is small movement over there. You say there's a progressing extension of the PQL interval from the complex to the complex. That means it's not moving the way they want it. However, there's still movement. There's fallout of some ventricular complexes. Some, not all of them, some. So that means that there's still connection between them. Now I'm seeing that with the type 1, it's like there's even nothing there. Everything still moves. So you're not able to even know that there's a problem there. But with stage 2, you say there's a problem there. But with stage 3, or with complete blockage, completely nothing is connecting. Dr. Lucy. Lucy.
Yes, Doc.
Was the question on edema clear for you now? Huh? It's not convincing. This one say,
It's not convincing, actually.
The way you say, you don't sound convincing.
Yes, you are right.
I'm
I
right.
understood the aspect of permeability and the hydrostatic that you explained that is due to increase, or the pressure is coming from a high volume of fluid. But for the
Yes.
aspect of the oncotic pressure, when you were explaining, you said it's because of decreased the decreased presence of albumin in the blood vessels. So I don't understand the movement of, when you're explaining, talking about the movement of solutes and stuff like that. I didn't quite follow.
So your problem was the soil that I brought in.
Yes.
Now, okay, I will clarify again. Okay, let me just get it in now. Let me use. Please, this explanation has not got to do with this topic. I mean, let me just use this one. Okay. So basically, okay. So let's say we have a vessel here. We have a vessel here. Okay. So this is your blood vessel. Then over here is your interstitium. Over here is your interstitium. These are your endothelial lining. Endothelial lining. These are your endothelial lining. Endothelial lining. Good. But over here is the interstitium. Over here is the vessel. And over here, another interstitium. So one mechanism of edema formation, since you've understood the hydrostatic and then the permeability. Now the permeability, for example, if these vessels, the endothelium are being spaced out, what it means that anything that is inside the vessel will begin to pull out and go inside the what? Inside the interstitium. Hope you get that part.
Yes.
Great. Now, one of the things that maintain the pressure or that maintain the volume inside the vessel is what we call albumin. Or oncotic pressure is what maintains the pressure or what maintains the quantity of volume in the vessel. So again, when let's say the normal oncotic pressure, let's say it is 20 millimeter mercury. Let's say this is the normal oncotic pressure inside the vessel. And we said oncotic pressure or proteins to be specific albumin. Now I said albumin because albumin is among the proteins. Albumin is the largest or is more than the rest, like the globulins. Okay, albumin is more. So we normally use what? Albumin for oncotic pressure or generally proteins. So assuming the normal oncotic pressure is 20 millimeter mercury. Now these proteins are also referred to as solutes. It's like the sugar in your tea. Sugar are solute. Salt is a solute. That is why if you, by mistake, you take in a lot of salt, you will that you'll be drinking a lot of water because there's too much of what? Of oncotic pressure inside you. So you need to keep drinking a lot of water so that it gradually to what? To dilute. Have you explained that before?
Yes.
Awesome. Great. So at least you can relate to it. So the same thing applies to the vessel in your bodies. If the normal solute or the normal pressure there is 20 and there's decreased of pressure, what happens? It means that substance cannot, or the albumin there can no more hold the water. So the water begins to what? To leak out into the interstitium. It will begin to leak out into the interstitium because oncotic pressure is decreased. Now it is 10. So if it is 10 now, that means that it cannot perform as it was 20. So more fluid will start going out. More fluid will start going out. And again, if the pressure is now 30, what it means is that now it even wants more water to hold or more things to hold. And that is what will lead to what? Hypertension. Because it will draw water even from the interstitium into itself. Do you agree to that? Or do you understand that part?
Yes, please, I understand.
Great. So when the pressure is higher than normal, it will draw fluid onto itself. This is by osmosis mechanism. It will draw fluid onto itself. And that is what is leading to what we call the hypertension we normally see in people. Then again, if the oncotic pressure is also low, fluid will leak out from the vessel into the interstitium, causing edema. I said edema is the same what? It's also what? Fluid inside. But edema in the vessel, we don't call it edema. We prefer to call it what? Hypertension. So there will be clear-cut differences between edema and then hypertension. So basically, this is what I explained when I was talking about the albumin. And again, forget about this is one type of what? Of solute. We can talk about what? Sodium as another type of solute. So sodium also functions in the same way. When there's too much sodium over here in the vessel, it means it will draw more water to itself. And when there's less sodium, which means there is less potassium, less sodium, that means the pressure will be low. So again, fluid will leak out. Fluid will leak out. So Dr. Lucy, are you clear now?
Very clear.
Awesome.
I have one more question.
Sure.
Please, could you give again a difference between primary alteration and secondary alteration?
Oh, good. I can use the same thing to explain. Now, in primary alteration, there is a problem. This is when there is a enlargement of the spaces in the endometrium. So, normally they are packed together, okay? But when there is a primary alteration, they will begin to be leaking, like the space they begin to enlarge, and that mechanism is primary alteration, microcirculatory alteration. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Because now an antigen has come to that place. So because antigen has come, now white blood cells, they move inside the vessel. They don't move inside the interstitium. They are moving inside the vessel. White blood cells, white blood cells, they enter the vessel. So when there is an antigen here, it signals the vessel that, guy, there is a problem inside the tissue. So come and fight it. So that's when your friend, neutrophil, will start running, to come. And how will they enter? The vessel has to be open before to enter. So first, they'll do what? Microcirculatory disorder or disturbances. Then it will now come in and attach itself to the antigen that is present inside the interstitium, okay, or inside the tissue. Begin to engulf it. Then before you know it, the neutrophil will also start calling what? Macrophages. Guy, here we are. Come, I can't fight alone. I need your help. Lymphocyte, see, I can't fight alone. All the cell mediators, all of you come. Interleukins, this, come, let's fight this organism or this antigen. And that fighting, where the inflammatory things all come, that is secondary. Does it make sense to you now?
Yes, please.
Awesome. Dr. Emmanuel.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Any question tonight?
Yes, sir. I don't know. I don't understand that one of them B12 or how you differentiate the answer for B12 from iron deficiency.
Okay. So technically, when there's B12 deficiency, there is other than put it. When I tell you that there's a recession of the stomach, okay, the recession of the stomach, especially at the fundal area, these places we have a lot of intrinsic factors there. Okay, so when that place is undergoing recession or is being removed, what it means is that there will be low intrinsic factors there, and intrinsic factors are there for absorption of vitamin B12. They are there for the absorption of vitamin B12. So how do I know? First, you check the history. Is there any problem with the person? What happened before the person we are seeing the person having what? Vitamin B12 deficiency. Now, with iron deficiency, iron gives color to the red blood cells. So when we get color index, which is less than 0.9, we are thinking of what? Iron deficiency. And again, they can tell that the person having brittle nails, hair loss, and all those things. So these are specific for iron deficiency. Iron deficiency. And again, at the pyloric part, that's where ions are also being absorbed. So when there's a recession too, at the pyloric part, like we saw in one of the questions, I think the previous question, we saw that there's a recession at the pyloric part. So at that place, vitamin B12 might be okay, but iron absorption will be impaired. And that again can lead to what? Iron deficiency anemia. And to confirm it, you have to confirm it with what? The color index. It will be low. Are you okay now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awesome. Dr. Age, are you back?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Is there a question?
No, everything is fine.
Okay. Hogla.
I'll just have to revise them.
All right. Please, let's do it because time no day. We are left with 9 days. Time no day. Time no day, please.
It is well.
It's well. But I can see the confidence in most of you now, and I'm happy. Dr. Hogla.
Hello.
Hi. With your smooth, small voice. Any question?
No, please.
Are you sure?
Yes, please.
So I'll ask you a question right now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question right now. So, what are the 3 main mechanisms of edema formation?
Oh, okay. You said oncotic pressure.
Good.
And we also have I'm coming. Oh, good. One thing is vascular permeability. Permeability of vessels. Vascular permeability. And the last one. I wrote something.
Okay. It has to do with water.
The last one is hydrostatic pressure.
Great. So, my first question, okay, Sarah, your mic is open, so you can as well talk for us.
Yeah, for the Cushing syndrome and the Cushing disease that you just talked about.
Yes.
You said the answer was
Cushing disease.
Said the answer was Cushing disease, but on that place, I think you said Cushing syndrome.
Oh, really?
Maybe you can check it.
Okay. What I'm trying to explain is that when Cushing disease is usually caused by a pituitary gland tumor. A pituitary gland tumor. Okay? Gland tumor. And over here, we are having tumor of the adenohypophysis. It's the same as tumor of the pituitary gland. But when we have Cushing syndrome, it's simply the signs and symptoms. Simply the signs and symptoms. But the disease is called Cushing disease. But the syndrome is when there's too much cortisol leading to signs and symptoms. Do you get me?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Please repeat it.
Come again?
Could you please repeat it?
Okay, I'm saying that Cushing disease is usually as a result of a tumor of the pituitary gland. And pituitary gland is the gland responsible for, or it releases stimulating hormones to stimulate the adrenal gland to produce the cortisol. So it releases ACTH, adenocorticotropin hormones. That is what the pituitary gland secretes. It secretes adenocorticotropin hormone, ACTH. And this ACTH goes on to stimulate the adrenal gland to produce cortisol. And when the cortisol level is high, it sends a feedback mechanism to the pituitary gland that pituitary gland is okay, we don't need any more cortisol. So the pituitary gland will stop. But here's the case, we have a tumor. Tumor simply means what? Uncontrolled growth or uncontrolled proliferation of the cells. So whether there's too much or not, it will continue to secrete what? ACTH. So far as ACTH is being secreted, definitely the adrenal gland will perform its function, producing cortisol, and that is a disease. But the signs and symptoms are the syndromes. Does it make sense to you now?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's Dr. Yara, right? Any other question?
Yes, sir. So please just a minute.
Sure.
Sir, please, the enzyme inhibition.
Yes.
No question.
Okay, when we talk about the enzyme inhibition, I was saying that there is a problem with, they said a problem with the protein. I'm coming, let me look for it. They said there are several groups of molecular mechanisms playing important parts in the pathogenesis of insult to cells. When we say insult to cells, we are referring to what? Damage to the cell. Assuming your skin is there and there's a knife, that's an insult to your skin. Okay. And I think there are a lot of mechanisms that play an important role in it or in the development of the pathology. The question now is, what processes are stimulated by proteinic damage? Proteinic damage. And we are saying that in proteinic damage, that means there is what? Denaturation, or there is destruction of proteins. And proteins forms an integral part of enzymes. As a matter of fact, you hardly see an enzyme without proteins. Almost all enzymes are made up of what? Proteins. So if these proteins are being damaged, automatically the enzymes will be inhibited, or the enzymes will not be what? Will not be able to function properly. And that can lead to the what? Pathogenesis of the insult, whereby there will now be what? Inflammation and all those things, just to fight whatever that is happening in the body. Does it make sense to you now?
Yes, sir. So let's say here, that's why it's enzyme inhibition, because of the protein.
Yes, protein.
So say in any case, there is no protein damage, it will not be enzyme.
No, there are a lot of mechanisms for which inflammation can take place. Okay, just like when we talk about the oncotic pressure, for instance. Okay, so assuming there's a problem whereby more proteins are being excreted from the body, this has got nothing to do with even enzyme inhibition, although proteins are being secreted. But we're dealing with osmotic problem. Because osmotic also means what? Oncotic. Do you understand me, doctor?
Yes, sir.
Osmotic will also mean what? Then again, when we are dealing with cell membranes, when cell membranes too are also destroyed, we are dealing with phospholipases. Because a membrane is made up of what? Of a phospholipase. Do you understand me? So it depends on the mechanism they are looking for and what it can lead to. So this is specific proteins. So proteins will deal with enzymes. And again, if, for example, there's a kidney injury whereby a lot of proteins are going out, not that the proteins are destroyed though, but the proteins are going out, but they're not being destroyed. They are just going out. That you can be thinking of what? Osmotic problem. And again, when it's a cell membrane damage, and they ask you on the cell membrane, what will happen? Of course, phospholipase problem will start what's happening. Are you okay now?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Sir,
awesome.
Please.
Yeah.
One question about the Neutrophil left shift then.
Degenerative, and then the left shift, and then the right shift, right?
Yes, sir.
This question.
Yes, sir.
Again, I said,
yes,
when we say a left shift, we are referring to what? An increased amount of immature cells in the peripheral blood. An increase of immature what? Cells in the peripheral what? Blood. Now, when we say regenerative left shift simply means that even though there is some amount of immature cells in the peripheral blood, however, there's more segmented or more matured ones than the immature ones. So we call it regenerative. That means more are matured than immatured. Although in general, we have what? A shift. Then we'll talk about degenerative. It is when the immature are now more or excessively more than the matured cells. And over here, when we look at this question, obviously there's what? Leukocytosis or neutrophilia. 16 is neutrophilia or leukocytosis, obviously. So no two ways about that. However, these are sapped neutrophils or stop nuclei, 8%. Look at the segmented. We have 59%, which means that segmented, which is matured, is more than the immatured, which is what? 8%. So in conclusion, we say this is what? Neutrophilia with regenerative left shift. Doesn't make sense to you now?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Okay. Dr. Yima?
Sir, hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
No question.
No question. Great.
Yes, sir.
Dr. AJ? AJ, can you hear me?
Yeah, doctor.
Any question?
No, I think this was the question, but you've explained it.
All right. That's awesome. Dr. Esther?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Pardon the noise in my background, sir. I also
Sorry?
wanted to. I said you should pardon the noise on my background.
No problem.
I also wanted to ask the same question about neutrophilia regeneration left shift.
Okay. So right now you understand it better now?
Yes, I understand it better now.
Awesome. Dr. Hogla? You are talking, I can't hear you, Hogla. Oh, I think there's a problem with your sound. So please try and fix it because I can't hear anything. Or can anyone hear her? Can anyone hear her?
No, sir, I can't hear her.
Okay. So please, Ogla, try and fix your sound because I can't hear you. Dr. Lucy?
No question.
No question. Awesome.
I want to confirm something.
Sure.
Since you explained about this aspect of the left shift, does it always mean that all left shifts are always degenerative?
All left. This is regenerative, not degenerative. This is regenerative.
I'm not talking about this question. I'm just saying from the explanation that you gave us.
That's what all left shifts are what?
I'm asking, since when we explain about left shift, you said it's has to do with depends on more of the immature cells.
Yes.
So that's why I'm asking that does it now mean that all left shifts are degenerative? Since degenerative systems always there's the presence of there's more immature cells than the mature.
Technically, you can say so, but then again, that's why I classified again into degenerative and regenerative. So when other than that, you would have said that this regenerative is same as right shifts. You see, because I said when the opposite happens, we have right shift. Do you get me? But that is not technically the same. But over here, so always look at your blood smear or the leukocyte formula. Look at it. Look at it to be able to determine whether indeed it is degenerative or regenerative. Am I okay now? Yeah.
Can we please know the names like of all the some regular immature cells that will always be asked? Because for this one, for example, assuming if you didn't mention that this stap nuclear stuff, if that it was an immature, listen, I wouldn't have even known.
Oh, this one I don't know how to say, but then we have either stap or band neutrophils. They all mean
band.
They will now have segmented. So, but unless when I see something else, then I'll let you guys know. But for now, basically, these are the thing. But if you guys come across any question that looks like it, please feel free and bring it on board. Dr. AJ.
Yo, Doc.
Yeah. How is it? How is it going?
It's fine.
Awesome.
But my problem is that hypoosmolar and dehydration thing.
Okay.
There are different questions with that answer.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. You must understand the mechanism of each and every single one of them. We have the hyperosmolar. We have the hypo. In hypo, we are having what? Decrease of sodium. Decrease of sodium. In hyper is the opposite. In iso, same amount. Do you get me? Are you understanding me? Okay, let's look for the question. Sorry, let's look for the question so that we'll clarify this. We'll clarify this one. Let's look for the question and we'll clarify it. Please, if you see it, let me. Have I passed it? Oh, so people didn't see that I've passed it.
This is
good.
It.
So now listen. If I were you, I write this down. Write these things down, guys. Let's write it together. Now we have isoosmolar dehydration. This is when there's equal amount of fluid and electrolyte loss. Equal amount of fluid and electrolyte lost. Example, we have the acute renal failure. We have blood loss. We have burn. Now you can even add rice water to it. Add rice water stool to it. Which is I'm saying that because we have diarrhea somewhere. So you add rice water stool to it because in rice water there's actually equal amount of what? Electrolyte and fluid. Equal amount go out of the system. That's why it leads to severe dehydration. Severe dehydration. So good. That's what isoosmolar. So take note. Now in hypoosmolar, hypo means low solute or low electrolyte. Hypoosmolar means low electrolyte. And the electrolyte we are referring to here is the salt because that's the abundant one. So we are using salt, but then in general, we're referring to what? We're referring to low electrolyte. And this developed due to diarrhea, vomiting, sweating. We can talk of adrenal insufficiency. When we have adrenal insufficiency, it means that aldosterone cannot be produced. And aldosterone produces what? Or releases what? Sodium, which helps, or it retains sodium in the blood. So when we have insufficiency of it, it means that sodium cannot be what? Retained. Sodium will be excreted. That's why it forms part of hypoosmolar. Now in hyper or hyperosmolar, we are normally referring to what? That there's increased amount of solute. In other words, there is what? A loss of what? Water. When there's loss of water, that means the solute content will be high. When there's lots of water, the solute content will be high. That is called what? Hyperosmolar. And we are saying that example include diabetes insipidus, and hyperventilation. Please, have you gotten the clarification correct now? Oh, you can't hear me again. AJ.
Doctor, your line is breaking.
So you didn't hear what I said?
I heard you have jotted something down.
Great. So over here, since I said rice water is part of ISO, we are definitely referring to what? Isoosmolar. That's over here. We are going in for what? Hypoosmolar. Going for hypo. I don't know if I answered your question now.
Yes, please.
Great. So you can check out with the other question too to see. That one was diarrhea. So we use what? Hypoosmolar. But this is isoosmolar because of rice water. Then in hypo, because of what? Diarrhea. Although it is argued that rice water is also diarrhea. But I'm saying that in diarrhea, in rice water 1, there is what? Equal amount of or equal loss of solute and water. All right. Great. Yuma?
Sir?
Yes. Any question today?
No, sir, no.
Awesome. Esther, have you spoken? Esther, have you spoken already? Or not yet?
Sir?
Have you spoken already?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No problem. Lucy.
Yes.
Yes. How did it go?
It's okay.
Don't tell me you were sleeping.
No, I'm on.
So why are you sounding like you are lost?
I'm not lost. I was listening to the other people.
Okay. But is there any question? That needs clarification.
No, please.
Okay. However, if you encounter anything, please do it to post it on the group page. Our group page is not active at all. The Krok 1 group page is not active. Please. Because we're putting questions there, okay? And all of you get involved and solve the questions. I want to see that. In Krok 2, every day is always fighting over the on the place. And I love that. Dr. Paul.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah. Any question?
Everything is clear. Thank you.
Awesome. Sarah.
Yes, sir.
Any question?
Yeah, you were saying for that nephritic syndrome, the symptoms or the sign we could see is hypertension, oliguria, and hematuria.
Yes.
What about for nephrotic syndrome?
Nephrotic proteinuria? I'm listening.
You said hypoalbuminemia. And what?
Proteinuria.
Okay.
And edema.
Edema.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yaira.
Sir.
We are lost. Any question?
Said the isoosmolar dehydration.
Yeah.
Sir, please, some examples, please. I didn't hear.
I said isoosmolar, we have acute renal failure. Acute renal failure. We have blood loss. So when there's an injury or when there's a trauma and there's an oozing of blood, we normally have isoosmolar because equal amount of fluid and the solute are being lost. So it's what? Isoosmolar. Then we have burn. So when someone is fire or hot water or vapor, burn a person, we have isoosmolar. And I'm saying you can also add rice water to it. Rice water stew. Are you okay now?
Okay, sir. I got it. Thank you.
Awesome.